Right now, he has written a book called Brown is the New White, and his argument's really simple. Democrats, you've already got the majority, because 23% of the electorate are progressives of colour. 28% are white progressives. 28 plus 23 is 51%. The new American majority. You Google that phrase. His argument, and this is a New York Times bestseller endorsed by Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi, his argument is there are tens of millions of voters in the southern states, mainly black and Latino, who lean Democrat but don't vote. That's where you put your money. That's where it all goes. Forget the 2% in the middle. You go for Florida, you go for Texas, North Carolina, Arizona. And that's where they're targeting. That's how they almost beat Ted Cruz in Texas. That's how they almost won Florida with the Marxist Andrew Gillum, who is a complete Steve Phillips protege, and how they almost won Georgia with Stacey Abrams, another Marxist, another Steve Phillips protege. It's how they won the election in Alabama with Roy Moore, and how they got Kyrsten Sinema, the communist, elected to the Senate from Arizona. And I want to tell you who their candidate's going to be. Steve Phillips at Stanford University had a young, very, very radical friend, a young Marxist, and her father was a Marxist professor at Stanford. She became a top operative in the Hillary Clinton campaign. And her husband, under Steve Phillips's guidance, became the #3 in the Justice Department under Eric Holder. Her name is Maya Harris. She is now running her sister's campaign, Kamala Harris. She is half black, half Asian Indian, she's female, and she's going to get all of Hillary's money, and she's going to get the Democracy Alliance behind her, and she's going to get massive voter registration drives amongst the black and Latino communities of this country. And she'll almost certainly put another Steve Phillips protege, the Marxist from San Antonio, Julian Castro, on the VP ticket to bring the Latino vote in. And they aim to win against what they hope is a very damaged President Trump with 51, 52, 53% of the vote, and then they will legalise every single illegal immigrant in the country, and you can kiss it goodbye. That's their plan. But the good news is this: Donald Trump is now got 29% popularity in the black community. You haven't had that since Abraham Lincoln, right? If he can win again, you'll have a complete realignment of US politics. You'll drag a whole lot of the Latinos into the conservative camp, a whole lot of the soccer moms, a whole lot of those white union voters out in Pennsylvania, and the Democrats are out of power for 20 years. Right? Do you understand now why they have to destroy him? Because if he wins, we get prosperity like we've never seen, and a complete realignment in US politics. If they win, we get communism. That's the alternative. And think about this. Somebody mentioned the Supreme Court before. Well, right now, you've for 60 years, the left have run the Supreme Court, and they have piled precedent on precedent on precedent to destroy this country. Most of what they do, the government does in this country, is completely unconstitutional. Well, now we finally have a majority. Not a very reliable majority, but a majority nonetheless. And we can use that to roll back a whole bunch of these programs that have been destroying this country. And think about this. President Trump's been putting judges all through the circuits all over the country. But if he gets another term, now Ruth Bader Ginsburg is getting pretty old, folks, right? And she has said that she would like to come and retire in New Zealand. Okay? Well, I'm willing to take one for the team, folks. You get President Trump re-elected, she comes to New Zealand, she can play bingo all day long, and you get a 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court. Think of the Schadenfreude in that, people. So at that point, I'd like to bring my good friend Bishop E.W. Jackson up here, because we have a little bit of a plan. You know, the Republicans are correct. We've got to fight this the next election in freedom versus socialism. We say America versus socialism. You're either for America or you're for socialism. We want to draw that position, draw that thing. And we are saying virtually every single Democratic candidate, from Pete Buttigieg to Elizabeth Warren to Gilliland, all of them are Marxists, and we can prove it. All of them are Marxists. So please come up.
He reminds me why I hang out with this guy. Well, look, on August 4th of 1970, I raised my hand and took an oath as a United States Marine to the Constitution of the United States. That I would preserve, protect, and defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And Trevor and I are standing here, and I'm standing here as an old Marine to say to you, we are not going to allow a bunch of socialists and Marxists and communists to take over our country, not all our rights. And I'll tell you something else, if I may, in just a brief moment. We're not going to allow a bunch of godless, atheistic people balkanize this country and divide us by race and gender and anything else they can. We're going to establish this nation, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Now, folks, at lunchtime, Trevor and I are going to be meeting with you to talk about this program we've got. We're calling it, the website will be called America versus Socialism, because that's what this really boils down to. But Trevor hit it a couple of times, and one of your earlier speakers mentioned that the left has managed to make socialism mean social good. Well, what we're going to do is make sure that the electorate understands that socialism is communism by another name. We're not going to allow them to euthanize socialism. Look, all of you, you clapped when I mentioned that I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I've got friends who were almost killed. Some of them did die. I funeralized some friends fighting against communism, fighting against the forces against freedom in this country. They would love to look at America and laugh and say, we didn't defeat them on the battlefield. We weren't able to overtake them and force socialism and communism on them. But look, they got it growing up from within, so we win anyway. And we're not going to allow that to happen. We want to expose them for what they are. Kamala Harris, all of these presidential candidates, folks, these people are communists when you take the cover off. We got to expose them as such and make sure that our electorate understands, if you want America to become a totalitarian country in which the government controls every dimension of life, not just the economy, but us as individuals, you elect these people. But if you want freedom, let's bring Donald Trump back to the White House in 2020 and allow him to continue to pursue the policies he's been pursuing. Lunchtime, I'll leave you with this thought. By the way, I told Jenny Beth, I was at one of those rallies in 2009, and we have been fighting for 10 years. And let me tell you something, don't be discouraged by some of the things you see, because you've got to consider this. What would it have been like had there been no Tea Party? What would it have been like? The Tea Party invigorated this nation and brought us back to constitutional principles and fiscal responsibility and got us all working together. And I am a proud Tea Party member, Jenny Beth, and God bless you for the work that you've done. Ronald Reagan said this: freedom is never more than one generation from extinction. We do not pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for and protected and passed on to them to do the same. but we will spend our sunset years telling our children about the United States of America where once we were free. This is my pledge to you, and I trust you feel the same way. If I have to be the last person in this nation standing up for that flag, standing up for that Constitution, standing up for our freedom and our Judeo-Christian values and principles, I will do it until I breathe my dying breath. But we will never back down, we will never back up, we will never give in. We're going to make sure that we pass on to our children and grandchildren a nation that is indeed the land of the free and the home of the brave. God bless you.
Yeah, so, look, I just want to say, EW and I are starting up a network. We want to just get names from people today and tell you a little bit about what we're doing, but we want to do a lot of publicity around the Marxist backgrounds of these candidates as they come through New Hampshire and Iowa. So we're going to do billboards, guerrilla marketing, newspaper articles, everything we can. As they come through this narrow gully, we want them to understand, the people to understand how Marxist these people are, and we have the evidence. So please come and see us in the green room. I'm at my book stand just around here all day, but come and see us in the green room. We'll tell you a little bit more about it, and take your name if you're interested in being just, expanding the network in the state. So thank you very much.
Croc TV.